You've got to take big chances in order for the potential for a big positive outcome.
It's time to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of gum.
Hello friends, welcome to A Boring Revolution, your number one news source for everything in regards to the Boring Company. This is kind of my part 2 episode responding to some criticism of the Boring Company. Often get this kind of bizarre phrase that's thrown out there, just build a bus. And it's usually from some kind of limp-wristed simpleton who is basically, very ill-informed and has a very low IQ. And it's time we educate these people because they're listening to a lot of people on the internet who actually not really giving them the honest truth. And that's what I'm going to do for you today, because efficiency is a very general term. You can break that down into various factors, and I'm going to try and explain to you today why the Boring Company system could potentially be one of the most efficient mass transit systems in the United States of America today in 2022, and potentially way more efficient in the near future with a few modifications. So let's have a look at this. So efficiency comparison. So today's kind of video is going to focus on a comparison between buses and the Boring Company loop system. And we're just going to look at what has been proposed by Phil Mason, aka Thunder F00t, and what he thinks is a good idea. I'm going to explain to you why it's a terrible idea. In fact, you know what? It's not a terrible idea. It's kind of an okay idea, but it's not as good as the Boring Company loop, and it has very many drawbacks, and it actually can't be built. But we're just going to give him the benefit of the doubt anyway. So first of all, thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. Please comment on the video if you have an opinion on it, or if there's something in particular that you want to talk about in regards to the Boring Company. We really do appreciate that. So I keep getting this phrase from people, or this kind of catchphrase that they throw out there, just build a bus. It's like, no, we want something much more fast, much faster than a bus. We want something that is accessible to all people, that can be utilised with an app that's is going to be just a nice innovative system. We want something that's not going to require us to wait around 20 minutes for a bus to come around. There's lots and lots of disadvantages to buses. I'm going to confirm that in the upcoming slides. But so today's video was inspired by jpeg Phil. Common question from critics is, why don't you just build a bus? Well, here we are. So I'm constantly being told that a bus is always more efficient than a Tesla. A Tesla vehicle, in terms of its kind of watts per mile, it is really efficient, and it gets to the stage where if you're buying low cost electricity, it doesn't really make that much difference. But we're going to discuss that as well today. When people say this, they base it on sketchy assumptions, and they don't understand what they're saying when they say a bus is more efficient. They're really kind of quite confused, and they're not really being specific about that. And then when you ask them about that, they either don't talk to you, or they block you, or they try and pretend that they're not hearing you. And it's just a great example of they're trying to avoid the argument because they've already lost it. Efficiency can also be measured in different ways. Better efficiency doesn't always equate to more profit per passenger. At the end of the day, it's a business. The only thing that matters is that the business turns over a profit. This is not a publicly run company. We were after profits. We want to stay solvent, so everything else doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have the most efficient train system in the world and it doesn't make any money. Eventually that train system or that bus system will go bankrupt. So efficiency equals profit margin per passenger. So I think that's a good way of looking at it. That's certainly my kind of number one thing that I look at when I think of efficiency. How efficient is this system at making money for this company? If you don't look at things like that, then you've probably already been bankrupt, or you've worked for a company that has gone bankrupt. No offense, this is not how businesses should be run. So your typical bus journey in the UK, I've chosen the UK because in the USA it's a lot more than this, and it gives a bad number. So I'm trying to play it nicely here. So the typical bus journey is around 4.3 miles. Your typical ticket cost is around $3.85 if you convert it over. If you equate that per mile, you're making around 90 cents of revenue per mile per passenger. Well, it's not great, not really great that, and it gets even worse when you look at the gross margins. But if you look at what's proposed for Resorts World, obviously full self-driving level 4 is coming at the end of next year. So we have a system of 0.485 miles. A ticket is going to cost around $5. If you kind of convert that over, the revenue per mile per passenger is $10.31. Now that is damn good, a lot better than what a typical bus journey is. If you then look at the gross margins, you look at the amount of electricity that they're consuming per mile and the amount of passengers are paying, you end up with a gross margin around 30 to 45% per journey, which is incredible. A typical bus franchise, this is for the USA, typical bus franchise, you're looking at around 4 to 10% in the best case scenarios. A lot of bus franchises actually make losses or basically break even. So, in terms of the actual business of moving people, way more efficient. What else do we look at? Efficiency equals the journey time / the average speed. So let's have a look at the Resorts World system and kind of compare that to maybe an alternate system that our favourite kind of part-time scientist is proposing. So the Resorts World loop, you can go from end to end in 1 minute and 20 seconds. And that's just assuming that the average speed is 22 miles per hour. I think it could be a little bit more than that, maybe closer to 25 miles per hour, but that's just next to nothing. If you're staying at the hotel, you could finish your breakfast at like 25 past 8, walk down into the kind of basement area, get on the loop, and then you could be at the conference centre around 8:30. That's not bad, is it really? It's a lot better than an Uber. As for buses, well, as you know, the roads in and around the conference centre are not great for traffic. There's lots of traffic lights. To actually get out of the Resorts World casino, you have to kind of go under the casino itself, like an underpass. So I'm kind of dubious that a bus would actually fit under there. But let's just assume that they built it so a bus could fit under there. Once you get to that junction there, you've got to wait at the traffic lights. You've then got to go through traffic lights, and then you've got to fight your way through traffic, and then you've got a left turn. Left turns are going to be difficult, and there's lots of vehicles coming in and out of the conference centre. So you're looking at 3 minutes and 58 seconds, which is like the best case scenario. Your average day, 5 minutes 57 seconds. I've seen it as bad as almost 10 minutes. So it could be a lot worse than this. It's very variable though. The average speed ranges from 6 miles per hour to 4 miles per hour. It's not good compared to 22 miles per hour. So you're losing time there, and also you've got to think that the bus is not necessarily going to be there when you turn up. So you might have to wait 5 minutes for the bus, then you have to wait 5 minutes to get there. That's 10 minutes when you could have done it in under 2 minutes. So in terms of time efficiency, average speed, it's not very efficient compared to a Boring Company loop. Again, I'm sure they won't be happy about that, but the general critics of the Boring Company. But let's actually build the bus system that Thunderfoot wants, because he's actually done some plans for us, and he's actually got a sketch of the bus he wants to use, and that's really helpful to us, because we don't need to make that many assumptions. So we can just use the information that Phil's given us, and it makes our job quite easy. So this is the kind of route, as you can see. It's actually fairly straight, but you've got left turn. You've also got you know, the junction there. So here it is on the plan. It's the route in blue. I'm not sure who's done that red route. It looks kind of make believe, like something from the Disney Channel. But hey, JPEG Phil is doing the best work that he can. This is the trolleybus system that we're going to utilise. I think this is the most efficient one that I could find, and it's kind of like a bendy bus, I guess. Although I don't think it holds 180 passengers, as Phil claims, but the data for this particular trolleybus was readily available, so I just utilised that, which is always good. Just a quick correction here, the 14 drivers is correct. 240 people per hour is incorrect. If you use the Model X vehicle, that means you can get 5 passengers. You've also got 14 vehicles, and you're going to do a pickup sort of every 5 minutes. Potentially you could do it every 4 minutes, but it's very, very tight. So it ranges from sort of 5-minute pickups and maybe 6-minute pickups during the afternoon. But 2 drivers and 2,160 people per hour is kind of an extreme statistic, but we're going to just use that because it doesn't really matter, and I'm going to explain to you why very soon. So here's the bus that Thunderfoot proposed. I wasn't able to find one of this particular length and the actual efficiency performance criteria of this particular bus, but the other bus had some quite significant data, so we'll just assume that it's this bus that is pictured here, but with the performance criteria of the other trolleybus. They're very, very similar, probably. Cost efficiency. So what does it cost to build this system? So to get it off the ground, which is going to be more efficient, the Boring Company system or the foot bus system, as we like to call it? So I'll tell you now, and I was quite surprised at this, the foot bus system is actually going to cost slightly more. It's very, very tight, but it does actually cost very, very more. So how much does it cost? Well, it's a trolleybus system, so it requires overhead electric lines. It's around half a mile, just under half a mile, and to do that you're going to be spending around $2.65 million. You're going to also have to make a quite substantial connection to a substation. That's going to cost you $1.35 million. Obviously, if you're doing a longer route, connections to substations would work out a lot cheaper because you're doing that every sort of like 1.5 to 2.5 miles. But because we've got a very short system here, it kind of adds quite a lot to the cost there. You're going to have some obviously stations at either end that can accommodate these buses and allow level access. They're going to be fairly expensive because you're going to need obviously places where passengers can wait and quite a large waiting area and space for such a long bus. So you're looking at around $1.45 million. The actual trolleybuses themselves, you have to get 3 trolleybuses. Ultimately, one bus could get damaged, one bus could be in for maintenance, so even though you're only using 2 on any given day, you're probably going to have 3, and you're going to need space for those in your bus depot. It's going to be $1.45 million. The trolleybus is 1.08, so it's just over $355,000 per bus. New kind of style trolleybuses tend to have a battery pack in there as well, around about 150 kilowatt hours. So that adds to the cost, but it also allows you to go places without the overhead lines. So what is the cost breakdown for the Boring Company loop? If you've seen my previous estimates for this, I did cost in the actual gross profit margin for the Boring Company. This is just the actual cost of doing it, as it were, without adding any kind of overheads for keeping it, in the green, as it were, or in the black. Boring Company loop cost breakdown. The tunnelling aspect is just under $4 million. The actual stations themselves, just under $1 million again. To install the road deck, it'll be a concrete road deck, just over 850 millimeters deep. That'll be $1.15 million. Vehicles, we've gone for 16 vehicles. We only need 14, but we've got 2 in reserve. That's $1.12 million. Charging bays, so you'd have 6 charging bays. It'd be like 150 kilowatt hour bays. that'd be just over $500,000. So you get $7.7 million. So again, in terms of cost efficiency, construction costs, the Boeing company wins again. So you know, we're flying on this one, which is always great to see. If you disagree with any of this, you know, put it in the comments below. Tell me where I'm wrong. But you know, this is all correct, or at least, you know, within, you know, a 5% margin. So if you disagree, tell me otherwise. Efficiency equals throughput. So this is the kind of key argument that gets thrown at me. A bus will move more people. It'll move more people per hour. It'll move more people per day. Now that is a very large assumption based on absolutely nothing. Looking at you know, old systems, not looking at this specific example. So both will be exactly the same. The Boeing company system and this potential trolleybus system. Why is that? Well, this is a kind of a very unique system in that it connects the Resorts World Casino to the conference centre. Remember, the Wynn Hotel and Casino will have its own link as well. So you're not going to have people moving in between. You're just going to have people who are staying at the Resorts World Casino in those 3,500 rooms going to the conference centre. Not all those people in the casino, in the Resorts World Casino, will be going to the conference centre on that day. It is probably less than half, but in this particular example, I've assumed that it's well over half, just as a worst case scenario. But it could be as few as 1,000 people are staying at the Resorts World Hotel and going to the conference centre. But I've assumed a few more. I've assumed that they go there and then they come back. So let's have a look at the actual statistics. So as you can see, you can actually see the accumulative amount of people that have been moved, as it were. So if you just look in the bottom right hand corner of both kind of boxes there, and you have the number 4355. So this is the only number that matters. So we've assumed that there's essentially people going to the conference centre in the morning, and then over the course of the day they return back. Now there will be some people in the morning going from the conference centre to the hotel, but that'll be less than, you know, 6 to 7% of journeys in the morning. So as you can see, the football system has a throughput of 2,160 per hour, but it never ever gets anywhere near that number. Yeah, it never goes anywhere near that number because there is a limited supply of people who want to use the system. This is what I keep telling people. So as you can see, the trolleybus system handles this quite easily. I like trolleybuses. I think that we should be building trolleybus systems in lots of medium-sized towns and cities in the UK and in the US as well. I think trolleybuses are great. But when it comes to comparisons with the Boeing company loop system, it's just much faster to use the Boeing company system, and people enjoy the speed and kind of the accessibility of the Boeing company system over trolleybus systems. What I've done here as well is I've assumed that the maximum throughput is 840. So I've assumed that there's 820 people going from, this is in the morning, going from the casino to the conference centre, and then you've got another 60 or so people coming back the other way, and the majority of people are going to be travelling in one direction at any one time. Maybe during the kind of afternoon area, you know, you might have it where it's like 60-40 or something like that, or 70-30, but and that potentially could be higher. That could be closer to 600, but for this particular example, we're just assuming 480. So as you can see, there are certain periods of time when the Boeing company system kind of struggles a little bit, but because this is a ticket system and you're buying via the app, you know before you turn up whether you're going to have access to a vehicle. If you're not going to have access to a vehicle, you're going to have to book a different time slot. So even though this number of people want to use the system, if it's not available, they're going to have to move their time slot, you know, 5, 10, 15 minutes into the future, because vehicles will be arriving in a convoy every 5 minutes. Let's just have another look at that one in a bit closer. So as you can see, we start at 6 a.m. There's not going to be many people moving at 6 a.m. and then it kind of finishes around 10 till 11. Again, you know, you're not going to have many people. And the good thing about this system for the Boeing company is they can remove vehicles. They can start the day off with 6 vehicles. They can go all the way up to 14 vehicles during these like peak hours, sort of in between here and here. And then they can maybe remove some vehicles, charge them up, and then they can bring back vehicles here, and then they can, you know, get rid of 2 vehicles here, get rid of 2 vehicles here, and they can just have like 3 vehicles running around at this kind of time. So that helps improve the efficiency dramatically. But the important thing to know here is when people say that a bus system can move more people, it can't move more people if the number of people that want to use the system is limited to such a small number like this. So it'll move exactly the same number of people. I call that a draw. Also, there's massive ways you can improve this as well, which I'm going to come to in a moment. So last but not least is energy efficiency. Now, the loop system has won out in every single aspect of efficiency so far, but I'll give the Trolleybus its due. It did win out on this particular metric, but not by much. And when the cost of electricity is going to be falling so dramatically over the next 5 years, due to the abundance of renewable energy and batteries, I'm expecting this not to really matter too much. So in terms of your typical kind of Trolleybus, so this one in particular, the data suggests that if it's quite full, over 80% full, it'll never get full on this system, by the way. It'll never get anywhere near full. You're probably lucky to get over 77% full, but you're looking at 22.5 watt hours per mile per passenger. The worst is not good, 607 watt hours per mile per passenger, and that is because the vehicle is driving around with just like 2 or 3 passengers in it, and unfortunately that will happen with this system, and there's no way to get around that because both vehicles are the same and you've only got 2 vehicles. And it's a very long vehicle, so and possibly not the best option for this system is to have a vehicle this long because it's very, very heavy. If you include all those extra batteries they put in now, and it's also, you know, got lots of rolling resistance due to the large number of wheels as well. But the average for this particular Trolleybus on this particular system is around 66.7 watt hours per mile per passenger. Results World Loop, if you're using a Model X, now remember the Model X is actually the least efficient Tesla that is available to purchase. The best you can expect is 76.5 watt hours per mile per passenger, so that's a full vehicle, which potentially could be pretty much 90% of the time you can have full vehicles because you could remove vehicles when you know you don't need them. The worst is around 172 watt hours per mile per passenger. You're not going to get vehicles driving around with 1 passenger in. You know, most of the time they're going to have at least 2 passengers if you have a ticket style system. The average is around 83.2 watt hours per mile per passenger, which is damn good. I mean, that's peanuts. If you're paying like 18 cents per kilowatt hour, that's peanuts. So, you know, when you compare that to that, it doesn't really make much difference. But in terms of a winner here, you know, the bus wins out. But here's the kicker. When the Boeing company / Tesla comes out with its robo-taxi / robo-van, and they are going to make one, it'll have space for 14, maybe 16 passengers. That will make a hell of a difference. That will improve the efficiency. When it is almost fully loaded. It won't be fully loaded all the time, so this is kind of the average. 29.7 watt hours per mile per passenger. That is a lot better than this. It'll also solve our capacity problem at kind of peak hours as well. Having the robo-van makes this an absolute winner in every single efficiency metric by a long margin. So that with just some small changes and an introduction of a robo-van with a very efficient drivetrain and lots of seats, this will be an easy victory. And that's the end of the video. As you can see, efficiency can be measured in very, very many different metrics. I think the Boeing company system it fulfills all the efficiency criteria and does a damn good job at it. If you think otherwise, then tell me in the comments below. But you know, it's difficult to argue with all that data. Please consider following me on the following platforms if you've not already done so. Also, thanks to my Patreons. There was a new Patreon, Jamie Scott, as well. Thanks for joining the community. And that's the video. I hope you enjoyed that. Hope you have a lovely day. Yeah, don't be boring. I will see you on the next one. Goodbye.
I mean, with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon.